Hey guys, welcome to our first episode of our podcast, H&H Sports Talk. I'm your host Hunter, and I'm joined with my co-host.
Hobart.
All right, nice. So this is our first episode of our podcast. We're going to be talking about mostly sports and kind of all the main topics that are happening in sports.
Mostly basketball, football, and maybe some college football and college basketball.
Right. So we can probably just start with the first topic, which is the NBA.
So some of the
What
biggest
do you think?
surprises are in like the standings for the West, especially, are that the Pelicans are the number one seed. What do you think about that?
I think that's interesting. Coming off all the injuries, all the different trades, all the new players that they have. Personally, I think this is crazy that they're developing like this. I mean,
Very,
and we
very
also
quickly, Zion finally playing his full season so
right,
far.
coming back from his injury, which was pretty bad. I mean, you know, everybody wanted him to be the next LeBron, and everybody was questioning whether that could be him. And it's like, oh, I don't know. And then now he's coming back with the season, and it's just crazy. Like, they're number one right now.
Yeah, they're looking really good too. They're looking like they could be a contender.
Definitely, I agree.
Another team that's kind of actually two teams that have kind of underwhelmed me this year so far is the Mavericks and the Warriors. They're at 9 and 10 in the Western Conference standings. The Warriors are barely at 500.
Are they? Wow, that's pretty crazy. Considering that
Curry,
the Warriors. Oh, sorry.
Stephen Curry is probably the player that's keeping them at 500. And there's
I would
nothing wrong
believe
with the
so.
team. They're just not shooting the way they should, and they're not ending games the way they should.
I would say is Clay's back, right? Clay's
Yes,
back.
Clay is back.
Just a okay. So yeah, that's definitely interesting to see him come back from his injury and see how he performs. He's probably underperforming, but that's expected. Coming off a full season, you just don't know what's going to happen,
Yeah, he played
and
towards the
clearly
end of
it's
last
not working out.
season and in the finals.
Did he? Okay,
Yeah, he
okay.
had game 6 Clay in the finals. But he looked good. It's just at the beginning of the season he was shooting very low percentages. He had a really big slump.
Okay. And how do you feel about the Mavs right now?
Oh, I think Luka Doncic is going to end up being the next LeBron James, like when he was in Cleveland the first time.
You be, you believe so?
They're not gonna they can't build anything around him for some reason. Christian Wood is solid, but they don't start him. He's like a six man, which doesn't make sense to me. I don't know. I might be like dumb, but I think that they should start him, and they just need to put more players around Luca, more scorers.
Definitely more shooters for sure. Because I mean, as you can see, Luca can do pretty much anything on the court. So it'll be interesting to see how they develop that. I mean, would I be out of left field to say that he might leave the Mavs? But probably not. I mean, because they want to keep him and build around him.
I think to I guess to fix what I said earlier, I think he'll be more like a Damian Lillard.
Okay, I see what you're
He'll
saying.
have a decent guy next to him, as in like when Lillard had CJ McCollum, but he won't leave.
Yeah, exactly. Okay.
And the Lakers still 12th in the West. I don't know if they're going to be able to have a playoff run.
I think everybody's just really disappointed in the Lakers right now, just to say the least. I mean, there's not much to say. Just they're not playing well. It's not working out. Something's got to change. Something's got to change.
And in the East, we have Boston at the number 1 seed. Tatum and
But
Jalen Brown are looking crazy good.
that is definitely expected, as they pretty much grew up in the league together.
Yeah.
Basically 1 and 2 on the team. And so they know each other very well, and it doesn't surprise me that they're number one right now because everybody was just raving how good they both were, coming out of college. So it's good to see them, finally developing and going to that star status for sure in the East.
Another big surprise in the East actually is Chicago, 11 and 15 this season. Zach LaVine's been in and out. Has some good games, has some bad games. I don't know what they're gonna have to end up doing to win soon because DeMar is not gonna have many more good seasons.
Right, yeah, because he's definitely older. He's been in the league a while, so we'll
Yeah, man.
see what happens with that.
All right, you got anything else to say about the NBA right now? Any players that you like? Any players that you think are underperforming?
Not that I know right now, honestly. It's just interesting to see how the NBA is slowly shifting, how all these other younger teams or quote unquote younger teams are coming up, and everybody's else is that was like number one, number two, number three, kind of switching back and forth just to see where that, like you said, the Lakers being last pretty much, or not last, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, they're
So
12th in the conference out of
right,
15. Not looking
right,
good.
not looking good. So it's just interesting to see that we're in that era where we just see change in the sport, in the league.
Yeah.
So definitely a new league for sure. So it'll be interesting to watch once we watch further and keep going on with the season.
I think the play-in and the playoffs will be very, very interesting this year. Very different.
Very different indeed. I like it. I like it.
All right, now we can move on to the NFL, which is the main sport going on right now, in my eyes at least.
Definitely. Right. Definitely one of our favorites. We're what, in week 15, 14? Don't remember.
I believe week 15. About to start it.
15, right? We're about to start week 15. So a lot of interesting moves, a lot of interesting things going on for sure.
All right,
So who do you feel would win the NFC South as of right now?
the NFC South is probably the biggest toss-up I've seen in years.
I think so too. I think it's
Everyone's under
interesting.
500. Tom Brady's not looking like vintage Tom Brady. The Panthers are somehow still in the running with their horrible record. I don't know why the Saints keep starting Andy Dalton. Like, I don't think Andy Dalton's bad, but I just think they would get more done with Jameis Winston, which is weird to
Right,
say.
he's not bad at all. Jameis Winston just eats the W's. I mean, we see him.
We've seen
So
him eat them W's.
literally, physically eat the W's. Yeah. So it's just interesting to see
And
how everybody.
Mariota came out swinging this season, and towards like week 6, it just started going downhill.
Yeah, it just died down from there. And I honestly I didn't expect the Falcons to do anything, and it's just like then they came out, guns blazing, full steam ahead, and it's like, okay, you know what? They probably could be second in their division. We don't know, but it's just insane. It's insane.
That's probably the craziest toss up of a division I've seen.
Right, and then you have a move from the Panthers, which is Baker Mayfield being released
Yeah,
and Sam
and
Darnold
somehow
taking over.
Baker Mayfield has gotten better in the last 2 weeks.
Right, he got better with the Rams, and everybody's like, "Oh, vintage Baker's back, vintage Baker's back," and it's like, is he?
I
We
don't
don't know.
know.
I don't know either. I mean, because Oklahoma Baker was pretty insane.
It's pretty good. Pretty good.
Yeah, pretty good. So we'll just see how it plays out for the rest of the year when he continues to take the snaps for the Rams and how far it goes.
All right. The next thing I wanted to ask you about, do you think the Packers can make the playoffs this year?
Okay, this is a tough one because it's like they have sparks during their games, and you're like, okay, it's a close game. They could come back, and then just Aaron Rodgers underthrows, overthrows. Honestly, in my mind, I'm like, if you see that happening with Aaron Rodgers, just run the ball. I mean, you have Aaron Jones. Come on. And then you have the other backup. I forget his name sometimes.
AJ Dillon.
Right. AJ Dillon, that's a 1-2 punch right there, if you think about it. I mean, it's like run the ball a little bit more, just a little bit more. Maybe you'll score a little bit more. Maybe win some games. It's like I don't know how you feel because I know you are a Packers fan, but that's just how I see it from not my unbiased opinion, just looking at it.
As a Packers fan, I also do not. I don't think that we're gonna make the playoffs because we have a lot of things that we need to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think we need the Giants, the Commanders, and the Seahawks to lose 2 or 3 games, and we have to win out, and we have a tough game, not this week, but next week against the Dolphins.
That will be a really tough game.
Yeah, we've been looking a lot better the last few weeks, but I also don't really like our pass rush right now
Mm-hmm.
because Rashawn Gary is out for the season. He tore his ACL a couple weeks ago.
Right. We all saw that. It was
But we
just
are
a tough
seeing,
loss. Tough loss.
yes, we are seeing
Mm-hmm.
the emergence of Christian Watson.
Yes, I agree. I mean, if there's anything that's positive about the pass game, it is definitely Christian Watson, for sure.
Also,
Because at
Romeo
first
Dobbs
it was
comes
like,
back this week.
okay,
Romeo Dobbs comes back from injury, ankle. I think he was on IR for like 6 weeks.
oh man, okay, yeah, that would be a great addition. I mean, we'll see what happens going forward, but it's if anything, it'd probably be the last wild card spot. I mean, that's just to be nice. I mean, it's just
Yeah,
the way it's going. It's like,
it would be the 7th seed. We would be right
mm-hmm.
there at the bottom.
Yep,
So that
I
kind of
agree.
leads into my other question. Who do you think will get the 7th seed in both conferences?
It's a really good question. I mean, it's a toss up. I mean, it's all close.
Yeah, I think in the NFC it's gonna be the Commanders or the Seahawks. That's
Personally,
I think those are the
yeah.
two.
If I'm looking at the two teams, I probably have to go with the Seahawks, and that probably be just by one game, maybe,
Yeah.
maybe. Just because I think they have a better team overall.
What about the AFC? What do you think? Right
The
now,
AFC,
right
like
now
yeah,
it
where
is the Patriots at 7 and the Chargers at 8. And I think right below them is the Browns.
I think honestly, if I had to pick, probably the Patriots.
I
I don't
actually agree
know.
with that. I agree that the
I,
Patriots probably will get the 7th seed.
Yeah, I think they would get the 7th seed. I mean, the Chargers will probably put up a fight, and it'll come down to the last game of the season, kind of like last year with them
Yes.
versus the Raiders.
And they'll lose.
Yeah. So if anything, if I had to put money on it today, it would be the Patriots for sure.
Yeah,
Will they
as
go
of right
far?
now.
Probably not. But
Probably not. With Matt
probably not.
Patricia calling the plays, I'm sorry. No.
Yeah, no. Yeah, we saw what happened in Detroit.
Oh
So
my, that is true.
yeah.
Speaking of Detroit, actually, do you think the Lions have a better chance at the playoffs than the Packers?
Honestly, I'm gonna be completely honest. Yes.
As a Packers fan, I also agree. I do think that they will.
Yeah,
They
they're just like,
they have a chance to win a lot of their games ending the
yeah,
season.
they're just like all gas, no brakes, full steam ahead. Dan Campbell, I mean, he's an awesome head coach. You know this. I talk about him all the time. I think he's a great coach. You watch the Hard Knocks for the preseason. I believe that was yes, it was the preseason Hard Knocks, and it was just philosophy behind the game. Everything was just spot on. Everything you want in a coach, and he really
Also, great
makes
energy guy.
right, and he like brings that energy, and then everybody wants to play with him and for him. And overall, I think at the end of the day, they'll have a chance to make the playoffs for sure.
And a lot of people are knocking on Jared Goff. Jared Goff was in the Super Bowl a couple years ago, so I don't know why
Yeah, I
people are
mean,
so tough on him
yeah,
right now.
yeah. I mean, things happen. Whether it's a bad day, a bad game, whatever it may be. But I mean, that's just every quarterback.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see the Lions going forward for sure. Definitely, I'm excited to see that too. But they deserve it. After being at the bottom for so long.
They truly do deserve it. So the next thing I wanted to ask you was the Cowboys. You
Ah,
are our
yes.
Cowboys fan.
I definitely am a Cowboys fan. Yes,
Do you think
unfortunately,
do you think they will make a playoff push?
a playoff push. Okay, it just depends who we're playing. I kind of talked about it to you this past weekend
Hmm.
or the other day. It just depends on who we're playing. Because as of right now, we would be playing the Bucks, and as we all saw what happened this year when we played them, terrible game, horrible, absolutely terrible.
That was
It
a very
wasn't
very
anything.
bad offensive game for y'all.
Yeah, and it wasn't like last year where we actually kind of gave them a game and everybody's like, "Yeah, Dallas is back. Dallas is back," or Dallas has a chance. It's like, yeah, I don't know. It's at the end of the day, Tom Brady owns the Cowboys. Let's be real. So, as of right
That is
now,
pretty true.
yeah, as of right now, no. I think if we were to play the Bucks today, we would lose.
That is actually a bold statement.
I think so too, considering how the Bucks are playing.
Also considering how Dak has been playing again, or how he played against the 1-7-1. I think what is it like 1-10-1 or something like that?
Yeah,
Texans,
1-10-1 Texans. Yeah,
just the 1-win Texans. No, he did not play well. He threw a couple picks, I
right.
believe.
Hmm.
Did not
It's
look
just
good, and it was probably a very ugly win for them.
yeah, it was a bad win. I don't know. When I watched it, I was like, "What are we doing? What are we doing?" And it was just little mistakes too, kind of like those things that you try to fix in practice, but it's like at the end of the day, when it's game time, you got to make it happen, and it just didn't happen. So
I agree. I agree. All right, so leading into our next topic, which is, I guess veteran wide receivers.
veteran wide receivers. Yeah.
The biggest name out on the market right now, Odell Beckham Jr.
Yes. Everybody's number one guy on their list. Well, not everybody, but contenders for sure.
So, what do you think about Odell right now? Like, what do you think is going to happen?
So Odell came in and he had meetings with the Cowboys, the Bills, and the Giants. Correct me if I'm wrong. It was only those three, right?
That I know of, yes,
Right, or that anybody really knows, right?
yes.
So I, I mean, do the Cowboys need him? No, I think they'll be okay without him. You know, I think we'll be all right. Would it help to have him? Yeah, for sure. I think anybody would want, Odell's star power, Odell's abilities on the field on their team.
Yeah,
So
I agree.
I think it'd be a good move if the Cowboys do sign him. Now, saying that doesn't mean the Bills would not make a push for him. Because imagine the Bills having Odell,
That
because they already
would
have
be dangerous.
right, because they already have Diggs, and then they have Gabe Davis some games when he comes up.
Yeah,
you know,
100%.
so yeah, yeah. So it's like that would be real dangerous, especially with a quarterback like Josh Allen. I mean, come on, that just writes playoff run all over it. But I mean, it just comes down to where he wants to go for the next few years because he does want a contract that's at least 3 years, is what I was hearing. Could be wrong, but I want to say it's at least 3 years. So
If he wants a
whichever
3-year
team,
contract, that's kind of wild with the whole health thing that he has right now. Because I was hearing that There's a chance that he doesn't even play this season.
Right. And I think that's why he's still not on a team, because there's just that doubt. Just like those reports we heard that the Cowboys did a physical on him and they're like, I don't know. I don't think he can play just yet, you know? And everybody was saying, oh, he could sign with the team by the end of Thanksgiving break or Thanksgiving games, and he could probably play then. And now you're hearing not until playoffs or not until next football season. It's like, we don't know. Clearly, you and I aren't, in those conversations or in those locker rooms or, in those meetings, but it's a big gamble for sure, just because we don't know how he would come back from his injury.
And there's conflicting stories going out right now that nobody knows what's true, especially as a fan, as a football fan. None of us know what's really going on.
Exactly. I agree 100%. So it could just be all speculation. We don't know, but as the story continues, we'll definitely talk about it more, cover it a little bit more, and we'll see who he ends up with.
Well, the good thing for the Cowboys is that y'all did sign a veteran wide receiver.
Yes, and I'm actually kind of excited about that because he is a veteran, It just has that veteran touch to it, Little things that TY could teach the younger receivers. And, it's a good addition. I'm not mad. Does that mean they're out of the Odell running? Probably not. No. It's just a good signing for right now. Just like we said, we don't know when Odell could be back. So I think it's just good to see that the Cowboys did make a move, at least for right now.
I also think TY is a great addition to y'all's team, a good deep threat, and also a good veteran in the locker room to have.
I definitely agree with that for sure.
Another veteran wide receiver that came out of retirement, actually. Cole Beasley to the Bills.
Cole Beasley. Yes. Fan favorite.
That is true. Fan favorite.
He is a fan favorite. Yeah, I mean,
he had his moments.
Kid's good. Yeah, the kid's good. The kid's good for sure.
I think he'll be a great way to extend drives for the Bills.
For sure.
They have just Isaiah McKenzie to play the slot, kind of, and Stephon Diggs plays the slot a little bit. But to have a pure slot guy who has already played with your quarterback is very important.
Yeah, it kind of just makes sense at the end of the day. I mean, if he's going to come out of retirement for a team, it might as well just be the Bills,
Yeah, to have trust in your slot receiver is so important. Look at Aaron Rodgers and Randall Cobb.
Exactly.
For the first half of the season, Randall Cobb was the only option for some reason.
Right. And how old is Beasley? Do you know? I don't even know right now.
Early 30s, I believe. Not sure.
Yeah, I'm not sure either, but I mean, not bad. It's a good addition for the Bills for sure, going forward.
Yes, I think that it'll help them in the playoffs very much too to have the veteran slot receiver.
Right, for sure.
Also, are there any other signings that you've heard of? I don't want to miss anything.
Other than, like we were talking about earlier, Baker Mayfield being released and, going to the Rams.
Yeah.
But other than that, I'm not too sure.
Oh, very quickly, let's touch on Brock Purdy. That is his name, right? Brock Purdy.
Yes, Brock for the 49ers. Yes. Oh, man. Did you watch that game? That game was actually...
No, I watched parts of it. I was in and out.
Okay, yeah. I watched pretty much the whole game. And to see what he did during that game was crazy. Because at first it was a little rocky. You're like, he's a rookie. Cut him some slack. But then he started playing, started trusting in his team and his offense, taking control, taking command, just owning the role of I'm the quarterback today was just great. I mean, even for the coaches to have trust in him, was he a third string quarterback, right?
He was the third string quarterback.
Right. So, man, I mean, just to see that happen, great story, and then see his parents there happy. I mean, you got to be happy for the kid. I mean,
You gotta love that.
coming, yeah, it was just an awesome game. For him to beat of all teams too. The Bucks. It was crazy.
Yeah, to beat Tom Brady in your first game and you were Mr. Irrelevant.
Exactly.
That's that's a fun story to tell later on in life.
Definitely be some interesting games going forward with him to see what happens because with their current quarterback situation. So they definitely would like to see more 49ers games going forward for the rest of the season.
It's also going to be interesting to see if he can run the playoffs. How well he can play in the playoffs because Trey Lance definitely is not coming back.
Right. And then wasn't Jimmy G slated to come back during playoffs?
I actually don't know.
I want to say during the telecast, that's what they said. I could be wrong, but because he broke his foot, right? That's what it was.
Oh, I don't think he's coming back then if he broke his foot. I think he's
Yeah,
out for
or
the
he broke
season.
I don't know what he broke. It was something in the foot, I'm pretty sure. But I mean, that's what I was hearing. The earliest is probably during playoffs, but who knows? We'll see once we're going forward. I mean, because if you look at it, the 49ers have no shortage of talent on their team. You have Christian McCaffrey at back. You have Debo Samuel. You know,
Brandon Ayuk also.
Brandon Ayuk. Yeah. So I'm telling you, I mean, I think they'll be fine. I think they'll be fine.
Yes, I also think they will be fine. They literally just need what we call Jimmy G, a game manager.
A game manager, right? Yeah.
All right, so now we can move on to our NFL award predictions.
Oof. All right. This is gonna be interesting.
All right, so we'll start with MVP. That's the biggest award. Everyone talks about it all the time.
I think it's pretty obvious at this point, honestly.
I I think it is pretty obvious, but I don't think a lot of people agree.
Probably not, but I mean,
I
in our
think
eyes,
I think Jalen Hurts is the most valuable player in this league.
I would have to agree with you on this one. I mean, you can see what he's done. I mean, basically turn around and do what he does. Basically, what you saw him do in college, doing in the league now. Plain and simple.
He's looking like Mike Vick. You're throwing the ball down the field
Running the
to
ball.
yeah, and he has AJ Brown. He has Devonta Smith. It's crazy. Like
Mm-hmm.
he has so many weapons around him. Even Watkins looks good with with Jalen Hurts.
Like he sure does.
That is not a knock on Quez Watkins, by the way. He's a good receiver. He just looks really good with Jalen Hurts.
Right. Right.
And I think the only person that would come close has to be probably Patrick Mahomes. But I just think Jalen Hurts has run away with it this season.
I think so too. I mean, outstanding turnaround for the Eagles.
All right, now we can move on to Offensive Player of the Year. This one's a little bit trickier. It just depends on what you like more, I guess. I think Justin Jefferson it should be the Offensive Player of the Year. I think he's had an outstanding season. He's getting the Randy Moss comparisons. It's just crazy. And your quarterback is Kirk Cousins.
Yeah, that's fair to say. I mean, no doubt that that's the reason why they drafted him. Come in and just catch the ball, and that's exactly what he's doing.
He's looking like a Hall of Fame player in his third season?
I, yeah, I believe it is his third season.
That is
Three
wild.
3 years. Yep.
Do you have anybody that comes close right now?
Off the top of my head, probably not. But it's just because there's just too many good players.
I
Because
mean, I guess Patrick Mahomes
I
also.
was gonna say, yeah, I was gonna say maybe Patrick Mahomes, but like we said, or like you said, he could probably be MVP this year too, and we don't even know it, you know.
Yes, I
So,
also a sleeper maybe Travis Kelsey.
oh yeah, Travis Kelsey,
Travis
he has
Kelsey is probably my favorite tight end I've seen in a couple years since Gronk was
mhm,
healthy.
very like Kelsey's very athletic for a tight end, and
For a
you
bigger
know,
guy.
mhm, exactly, and that's all you could ask for. I mean, he catches the ball, he blocks well, you know. So yeah, I agree with that too.
All right, now we can move on to defensive player of the year. What do you think?
Me personally, it's gonna sound biased, but I promise it's not. I believe it's Micah Parsons.
Me, as a person who does not like the Cowboys, I agree. Micah
I
Parsons
mean,
is dominant this year.
he just does everything. You run the ball, he's right there where the ball's at. You throw the ball, he's right there where the ball is at. You know, he's just everywhere on the field. Honestly, he could probably play every position on the field, offense and defense, and that's saying a lot.
I agree. He's a very athletic player. I've seen him line up middle linebacker and go out in coverage and knock down some passes. I've seen him
Yeah.
pass rush and get to the quarterback before the quarterback even takes his 5-step drop.
Yep. It's amazing to see how athletic he is and what his ability is on the field as a defensive player. It's just uncanny to anybody.
And I've seen his IQ also, being able to read the screens, being able to put his hands up to bat down a pass,
Mm-hmm.
being able to see when it's going to be a bootleg and a play action. It's wild.
Yeah.
Uh, in my mind, the only person that would even be in the conversation may be Nick Bosa.
Oh yeah. Nick Bosa, he is doing really good this year. I want to say, I don't know how many sacks he has this season, but isn't he like either number one or number two
I believe
for
he's number 2.
most sacks, right? Yeah. So definitely he's having a career season for sure. So it'll be interesting to see how much more he could do in the rest of the season following as of right now.
Yes, he is tied for number 1 with Matthew Judon of the
Oh,
New
okay.
England
See,
Patriots for 14 and a half sacks.
there you go. See, so it just speaks mountains there.
All right, now here's where it gets my bad. Here's where it gets a little bit tricky. Offensive
It definitely,
rookie of the year.
yeah. This is up in the air for sure. I
I
mean,
think it's between 2 receivers in my head. I think it's either Garrett Wilson or Christian Watson. Christian Watson's going to sound really biased.
yeah, it kind of does, but it's okay. I can see why.
He has 9 touchdowns, total touchdowns in I think 5 weeks. I think the only person that has done that in the Super Bowl era was Randy Moss his rookie year. So also getting some type of Randy Moss comparisons is kind of good, but Garrett Wilson probably would win it because he has been the most consistent throughout the year, I believe.
I would have to think it's Garrett Wilson, just like you said, because of the consistency. So
The only other one that I could see is probably Kenneth Walker for the Seattle Seahawks.
right, mm-hmm.
But he did get injured recently. I don't think he's played the last couple games.
Right. So that would definitely kind of push him down compared to the two guys we have on the list, right? Or in our minds.
Hmm.
So,
All right,
so
and
moving
then
on to defensive rookie of the year.
I think this is the one of the easiest ones by far.
I I would have to agree with you too.
I think Sauce Gardner. looks like a top 10 corner in the league in his rookie year.
I have to agree with you on that one.
I did not think much about this kid coming in. I'm like, oh, he's going to the Jets. I don't know if he's going to be able to do much.
Right, we're like, cool, the Jets. I mean, we'll see how they do. But
Yeah.
then, their season has been good in the beginning and then, kind of up and down as of late. But, what Sauce Gardner could do on the field is just top tier talent for sure at his position.
I agree. Last but not least, comeback player of the year. The
Yeah.
criteria of this one is very iffy. I don't fully know if it's like coming back from injury or just coming back from like a bad season
Or just anything in general.
but I think Geno Smith, because he's come back from not playing at all in the
Mm-hmm.
last few years.
Right, he's been a backup for quite a few teams for the past few years, I think.
I think the last place he started was probably the Jets.
Was it?
That was like
You might be right.
that was
Yeah.
like 4 or 5 years ago, I think.
Yeah. And he's just been that backup guy for every team that he's been with. So just to see him come out and finally get his chance and the way he's playing has been pretty solid so far, honestly.
Yeah, the Seahawks get rid of a Hall of Fame quarterback in Russell Wilson, and then they just run with Geno Smith, and Geno Smith hasn't skipped a beat.
Mm-hmm. And if you think
He's
about it, he's had time to develop, behind all these starting quarterbacks and stuff. So he's probably picked up a thing or two.
from a couple of them, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Do you agree with Geno Smith, or do you have somebody else in mind?
I would agree, but I think another person that could be on there is Saquon Barkley. I mean, if you think about it, the NFC East was pretty close there for a while. I mean, still is kind of, I guess, close between
For
the
second
Cowboys and the Cowboys and the Giants, which are competing for second and third back and forth. Anything could happen between them two. But the way Barkley has come back, I mean, he's played as good as new, basically, coming back from his injury. Wouldn't you agree?
I actually do agree. I think Saquon Barkley is a top 5 running back in the league right now.
I believe so too. As of right now, I think so.
For sure, top 10.
Mm-hmm.
Another top 10 running back in the league that could be up for this award is Christian McCaffrey.
That is definitely another guy that is up there for sure. I mean, from playing from the Panthers to where he was, and like I said, all the stuff that was happening over there, them firing their coach, and and then for them to trade him to the 49ers to where he makes an impact. I mean,
On a
couldn't have,
championship caliber team.
yeah, I couldn't have said it or done it better. I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah, I think those are the 3 guys for this award that could win it.
I agree.
All right, now we can go on to our college football playoffs.
Yes. I personally love college football, especially the playoffs. I mean, it's some of the best kind of football you can get towards the
I
end of the year.
agree with the college football playoffs being some of the best football you can get. I may not watch college football as much as I should during the
Mm-hmm.
season, but the college football playoffs are some of the most entertaining football games I've seen since I've been alive.
Definitely. Mm-hmm.
So there's
Definitely.
some big questions that I have. The first one is, do you think TCU can make a run in the college football playoffs?
Okay, so interesting you asked me this because I've seen, I would say, not all of TCU's games, but a good majority of them. Being from Texas and seeing
Hmm.
a Texas team being ranked within the top 5.
Always a good feeling.
Always a good feeling, right? Just to watch them, see what happens. Them adapting to their new coach and Sonny Dykes coming from SMU, turning around TCU to what they are now. I mean, if you think about it, in the beginning of the season, they were tearing teams apart. You know, they were putting up at least 40 points a game, at least. Then they start playing conference games, and this is where it gets tough because conference games are always up in the air, especially with the Big 12. I mean, it's just powerhouse, 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 powerhouse. So they blew out Oklahoma. Big shocker. Everybody was like, "What? No way!" Like they blew out Oklahoma. That's crazy, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then the following week after that, they go and play Kansas. So at this point, TCU was undefeated. So was Kansas. Both ranked teams in the top 20. It was back and forth, back and forth. And then TCU just barely edges out Kansas. And I want to say it was at Kansas, right?
I believe it was
so.
because this was a game that I was actually very invested in.
Right. So, it just got close. And then the next week, who did they play? Oklahoma State. Even tougher. That was the team ranked within the top 10. I want to say they were like 8 or 7.
I'm pretty sure they were like 7 at that point.
Right. And then they go on and play. Close game. And what do? Go into 2 overtimes. And they won by 3 points. So, I mean, if you look at TCU's games, some of them have been close, but that was against really good teams. And they are playing Michigan.
Yes, I believe they are playing Michigan.
Right. And then to see how they were playing against Kansas State in the Big 12 championship, I think this will be a close game. I do really think that. However, I think Michigan will win this game. And that's just because Michigan has a powerhouse team every year. Because it's like they're one of the top teams every year. What do you hear? Michigan. That's like up there with Alabama.
And they have
Georgia.
one of my favorite coaches.
Right.
I forget which Harbaugh it is. I think it's Jim.
Yes,
I like both of
Jim.
the Harbaughs. They're probably some of my favorite coaches.
Right. But so yeah, I think Michigan's gonna win that game. But it'll be interesting to see what happens for sure.
I also think Michigan's gonna win that game.
Mm-hmm.
More because how they beat Ohio State.
Oh yeah.
They made Ohio State look like a Conference USA team.
Yeah. I mean it was just crazy to watch. I mean, everybody thought, Ohio State this, Ohio State that, ranked number 2 in the country. And then Michigan goes out and embarrasses them. And a 45-23 win. I mean, come on. And they're undefeated. Michigan's undefeated. So, Michigan doesn't lose much. So, I have to go with Michigan on this one.
Yeah, I agree. The big question that I also have is, do you think Georgia will just dominate this college football playoffs, or do you think any of these teams can give Georgia a game?
If there's any team that can give Georgia a game, it's going to be Michigan. Because, like I already said, I think Michigan's going to win, and Georgia's probably going to embarrass Ohio State. I mean, Georgia's pretty good. But I will say again, Michigan did have close games, but I don't think they have anything to worry about, considering how I said Michigan embarrassed Ohio State. So, should be an easy win for Georgia. Should be, but we'll see. And then when they play Michigan, be a little tougher, like I said.
I guess the real question is, do you think Georgia will win this college football playoffs? Go back to back.
I believe they'll win. Yes.
I also do. They looked really dominant, even back when they played Tennessee, and Tennessee was rolling. Hendon Hooker looked like Heisman contender. Yeah, I think they'll just blow through this college football playoffs.
I think so too. Yep.
Speaking of Heisman, what do you think about the Heisman winner?
I think it's a solid pick. I mean, I can see why. I mean, Caleb Williams was just magic on the field, plain and simple. You know, he followed his coach Lincoln Riley, and we saw what happened, and he got the job done. I mean, did they make the college football playoffs? No, but it's okay. I mean, they still got next year. You know,
Do you think any of the other candidates deserved it more?
I.
Like, who were the other candidates? C.J. Stroud,
Mm-hmm.
Max Duggan. I
I.
cannot think of
Yeah.
the fourth one.
Yeah. I can't think of off the top of my
Oh,
head.
actually, it was Stetson Bennett.
Oh, actually, you're right. You're right. It was from Georgia. So I think it's interesting to see. I mean, if I had to choose out of all the others, I would say Max Duggan, just because what he did at TCU.
Which probably hasn't been done at TCU before.
Right. I mean, TCU has always had a solid football team, but not as good as they've had this season. You know.
Also, did not know this. I'm a little out of the loop. Apparently, Max Duggan was not even the starter at the beginning of the season.
Yeah. No, he wasn't. I want to say TCU's quarterback got hurt, and I
That
think
is
that's
an even better story than I thought it
exactly.
was.
Because he was a transfer from, I want to say it was Ohio State, or no, not Ohio State. Sorry, Iowa State. I think I want to say that's where he came from.
I think that story is very, very interesting, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And now we can go into, I guess we will go into our University of North Texas Mean Green section.
Ah, yes, our favorite section.
Just for context, we both do go to the University of North Texas. So
Yes, we do.
we will probably be talking about the University of North Texas at the end of every podcast. Just little things that we think are gonna happen if we have predictions for bowl game that we are gonna do today. Also, we're gonna talk about our basketball team. So let's just get right into it.
Right. So, do you think the Mean Green can win their bowl game against Boise State?
I believe that Boise State is the better team. We
And I would have
just
to agree with you.
we just fired our coach, our head coach, and hired a new one. I do not think that this bowl game will be run as well as we would want it to be.
Right. Right.
But I think the fact that we got into this bowl game against a really good Boise State team,
Right.
I think that's a good sign for the years to come, especially for us moving up into the American Conference.
Green Conference. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Do you believe that we're ready for the American Conference in football?
Do I think we're ready? Uh, it's going to be a transition year for sure. I will say that. Be a lot of trial and error. Kind of just see what happens, rolling with the punches. We do have a really good coach, as you and I were talking before this.
Yes, yes.
And so just to kind of see how it would all pan out
Eric
would be
Morris, I
interesting.
believe, right? That is his name.
Yes, yes, it is Eric Morris. So it'll be interesting to see what he can do with what he has.
What I do like about him is that he left, where was it, Washington State or something,
Mm-hmm.
before their bowl game.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
He came down to Denton right away to talk to the team, tell them that he's going to be there for the bowl game, tell them what he's going to do for the seasons to come, and what
Right,
he plans to do with recruitment and everything, which was a beautiful gesture in my opinion.
right, right.
What do you have to say about our new head coach? I know you
I
know
think
more about him.
right. I think it's just a great hire in general. You know,
I agree.
I think I think he has the potential to do great things at the school. So kind of just moving forward, like I said, we'll see what happens. It's gonna be a lot of a transition year and just rolling with the punches. So we'll see who he recruits, who he brings in, and then kind of just go on from there, more or less, because we are playing some pretty good teams going forward. As long and also the teams that we already played at the Conference USA moving up with us. So we'll just see.
Yeah, so it's gonna be interesting for the next year.
Mm-hmm.
Another interesting topic is the Mean Green basketball team.
Right.
So the Mean Green basketball team is 8-2. We
Pretty
are
solid start.
fifth in the conference right now, but that's partially because we haven't played any conference games yet. But we have played some very, very solid teams. Um, Tyler Perry, leading scorer, looking really good this season.
Right.
He's
Right.
had a little bit of a slump, but I think he can pull it together by conference play.
Right. It'll be interesting to see how he goes on with the season.
He also has been nursing an ankle injury for probably about 2 weeks.
Right. And so that could be kind of the problem. Kind of like you don't know how you're going to be coming back from an injury like that. So it probably could
So
still be bothering him, but like you.
looking at the conference, all right. Do you
Mhm.
think North Texas has a chance to win our conference tournament?
As of right now, I think they have a chance. But there's also a lot of uncertainty in the conference.
I
Because,
think
like,
once conference play begins, we'll be able to gauge the skill level of the conference more.
right. Because as of right now, it's a toss up. As you saw, Rice almost beat Texas, which is crazy.
Yes,
I mean,
that
they
was
could have just had
wild.
a good game, but I mean, you just got to see, you know.
Yes, also North Texas has had some very, very solid opponents this season.
Mm-hmm.
North Texas has played St. Mary's. We lost 63-33, more because our two leading scorers were injured, but I don't think we played well that game at all.
We
That
definitely
was
didn't.
probably our worst game of the season, and it's one of
Mm-hmm.
our two losses.
Yep,
We had a very close game actually Saturday against Grand Canyon University.
that was a
Honestly,
very
that
close
was a
game.
very, very, very fun game to watch.
Mm-hmm.
And Tyler Perry actually came up in the clutch with some free throws. Looked really
He,
good for the team.
he did look good for sure.
Uh, Now here's the even bigger question: do you think the Mean Green basketball team can make the NCAA tournament?
Well, it just all depends if we win the conference. Because as we all know, Conference USA only really gets one bid, which kind of seems like, you
Which
know.
the last few years has been kind of sad because
Mm-hmm.
there have been two teams every year the last 3 years that probably could have made it into the tournament. That probably were good enough to make it into the tournament.
I agree.
I do think that we have a higher chance this year than last year to make it to the tournament. I
Really?
think I do think I think so because Tyler Perry has even more experience.
Mm-hmm.
He's already hit game winners last season, so we know that he will come up in the clutch.
Mm-hmm.
Aaron Scott looking like the human rebound. Just he's
Hmm.
getting every rebound. Abu Usman's looking really solid in the post, and he's lost even more weight, which makes him a little bit more athletic also.
Right.
And my favorite addition this year, Kai Huntsberry,
He's definitely a great addition.
coming from JUCO level, just like Tyler Perry. He's looking super solid. Also off the bench, Ruben Jones, still nursing his knee injury, but he still looks as explosive as ever. I think our team is set to win. We do
I
have a
think
lot
so.
of young players in Matthew Stone. We also have actually a player with 100 career starts in college in Tyree Eady, which I did not know that till like the other day.
I didn't know that until now. Now you know.
But yes, and oh, why can I not remember this one player's name? Jaden Martinez. That's
Oh
who I was
yes,
thinking
Jaden.
of.
Mm-hmm.
He has come off the bench and been super solid. I think that we have a very high chance of getting far this year. Maybe having another upset in the tournament, but
That would be.
it's a long way
That,
from now.
yeah, that'll be interesting to see. Definitely a long way.
But I do think that we have a chance this year.
Mm-hmm.
All right, that's all we have for this week. Until next week, when we have more news from the last week of football, talk about UNT bowl game. We will have long conversations about everything sports.
Right.
If you like this podcast, please subscribe. Um, if you would, it would be great if you would share to your friends, show them our opinions, and like, comment. We want to hear everything. We want to hear y'all's opinions. And I think that is it for us. We are your
Yep.
hosts. I am Holbert.
Hunter.
See you next time.
See ya.